This is going to be an interesting story. Uh, After I sold the Mustang, I had I was looking in on these Chevrolet S10s, and I found this '99 S10, and it wasn't just a S10; it was a ZR2. Yep, they made ZR2 S10s back in the '90s. And now they making those Chevrolet Colorado ZR2s, and they're putting them in video games now. This one came stock. This was all stock, factory suspension, 3-inch lift. It just needed to be leveled up in the front a little bit because you'll see the gap. But torsion bars on a 4-wheel drive, you got torsion bars up in here. And if you wanted to level your truck up just a little bit to level it out, tighten up on them torsion bars. They're very hard to do. You got to have an impact or some kind of a really good torque bar to get it. But a really good, strong impact will do it. But to do that, you want to take the weight off of these tires, like get it up in the air and let the tires hang, and then tighten up on your torsion bars, and that will work. 99 S10 ZR2. And my old dog I had at the time, look out, I was still skinny. That's when I started gaining some weight though. But my old dog right there, his name was Chevy. You can imagine why I called him Chevy. I was going back to my roots. It was almost at the time I turned full circle. And I had another vehicle during the time of this. Coming down the driveway with the truck. This truck actually came from up north in the northern states somewhere, like in Colorado. And it had a plug that you would plug an extension cord to, and it would heat, it would warm the motor up and keep the motor from cracking in super cold weather. And it came with some BF Goodwrench rugged long trail TA tires, kind of like all-purpose tire, but not an all-terrain. Of course, it was stock. Like I said, all my vehicles, when I get them, they start out stock. That's the way I like it. I will not buy a modded vehicle because I don't know what's been done to the truck or car. There's the engine. It was a 4.3 liter V6. Didn't even have a tag on it at this time. Had a mud flap. Had 2 mud flaps in the front, in the back, but not in the front. So what I did, I ended up just taking these off to match the front and making it look like it's got a little bit more of a lift without actually putting a lift kit on it. First thing I ever did, get me a camouflage steering wheel cover. You've seen my videos up until now. You'll know why I go with a camouflage steering wheel cover. Because I got one in my truck right now. And this S10, it actually came with a cassette tape, not a CD player. And it worked. It actually worked. I couldn't believe that. But I started, there's that plug. It comes out of the grill. But this is when I started doing some off-roading on it. And Put me some mud terrain tires on there, some MTs on my stock wheels. Started going to these off-road parks and stuff, but this is an old picture because they're mixed up. I just take these pictures, and there's when I went mudding on it. And where I went mudding was over in Bama Jam Farms over there in Enterprise, Alabama. They got an off-road park. That was the first off-road park that I knew of. But now they got one up north of Abbeville, which I did a video on, where I went up there and kind of tried to scout the place out and try to find it. I think that video is still on. But oh yeah, this is when I tighten up on them torsion bars right there. Of course, got my old flag. I still had my old flag from my old brown truck, so a little bit of nostalgia there. Had to. I said, you know what? I got me another 4-wheel drive now. I'm happy and everything, and it's just horrible on gas though. Gosh, dog. That's the one thing about a 4-wheel drive. It's bad on gas. And then I got me some mud terrain tires, just off the wall. They were made by Dakota tires. So it's one of those off-brand that you never heard of. But, look at these things. They were big, meaty, good, thick, meaty mud tires. So they did the work. They did the job. Of course, when the river flooded, this is again down there where they had the Civil War reenactment. The river is actually over here on the other side of the trees, and this is where the water line was coming up. A good thing about having 4-wheel drive is, see, the road getting in there was underwater. But there were some hills and stuff in there that was still dry at the time before the real water came in. But the 4-wheel drive had its advantages. There's me out there in the water with it. There's the hood. If I can turn it. So yeah, I was pretty deep in there. Of course, having a little bit of lift kit and some mud terrain tires and 4-wheel drive, you can go places that you wouldn't think a truck could go. And this was down there at Clayhatchee, the Clayhatchee Bridge in Clayhatchee, where the road comes in this way and then it turns. By the time I got down there, I wanted to go down there to see what it looked like. I can't remember what flood this was, or what the time. This is when I started losing the track of time. I can't remember what years these things were. I figured let me see, is the picture? No, it don't even tell me a year. But I had to creep along the side of the embankment to get out there. And I had water boots on, so this is why I was able to get out here in it, because it was only knee deep. So it was only up to your knees at this point. Of course, this looks familiar from all my other videos. This is where my Silverado is sitting right now. And this was a custom tag I found down in Panama City Beach, Florida. A rebel flag with a digger. But of course it faded. It faded out. It was one of them airbrush jobs. And then I wanted to customize it even more. So what I ended up doing is, see this, the plastic piece where my bumper would have been for my tag. I took it off, and what I was planning on doing is painting getting some rattle can and painting all up in here, do some engine degreasing. It had a little bit of an oil leak up on the front of the motor because the oil filter was right up inside. There was this little box right here that you undo, and the engine had an off-mounted oil filter, not the traditional oil filter like your Silverado has the oil filter that screws into the engine block. This one didn't have that. So that's where it was leaking at, in that housing, and I had to replace that housing for that oil filter and put a new oil filter on it, and it wouldn't done this. And then I'd just do some engine degreasing and then painting it, and man, would it look good. And I never got around to doing it. Because by this time, of course, these pictures are mixed up. This is the time as when I traded this truck for my Silverado. It blew both head gaskets. And you know what kind of money's involved in replacing not just one head gasket, both sides had to be done. Of course, this is again the pictures a while ago from the flood. Had those mud terrain tires. This was taken down on Waterford Road. It's a dirt road not too far from me. It runs parallel with the river, and this was a big flood we had. See, there we go. I was causing tidal waves. I was coming back from the train trestle, and this is going around that final curve, and then you start going to where it straightens out and you come back to the asphalt road. But I took the truck and went all the way to the train trestle where it was the deepest, is from this picture here. I was like, it's getting deep and I can't really go any deeper. I don't want to risk it. So I turned around and started coming back. Just there's the train trestle right there. That's what I was talking about. That's how much water was covered the whole road. It looks like I'm driving up a river right there. But that's the dirt road, and the river is about 70 yards in the woods going that way from this point. Now, up at the trestle is only like 40 yards because you're actually turning and you're going closer to it. There's another picture of it when it was stock. Another picture when it was stock and I was doing a little bit of rock crawling in the front yard. Because way down in a holler, in the hollering hills. Like Up Church, the song from Up Church, Holler Boys. I like that song. It's probably the only song I like from him. And I put me some custom taillights on it. Pretty much what I got on my Silverado right now. And then there's my CB whip that I had on it. Some decals. Yeah, buddy. Rolling like a redneck. That's when I cut the single pipe that came out right here, like you see right here in this picture coming up. And I ran it out this way. This was all these trucks you see now, they running them like NASCAR style. That I had did that. I had the idea of doing it, so I did it. That was a big mistake though, having the exhaust system right there with you having some oil leak or valves, because it would shoot out some smoke when you revved it. Of course, riding in the with the windows down, the truck did not have AC. It only had heaters, so in the summertime I had to roll my windows down. And sitting there at a red light, all that exhaust is just coming right into your truck. So that's you live and learn. You make mistakes, but you live and learn. That was probably one of the best pictures I had of it. Right there's when it had my mud tires on there, and I had my chrome tip right here, and I turned it over sideways for some reason. Thought it would look cooler. And running them like that, if you turn them sideways, does not make it louder. It's best if you have the tip at the top, like you've seen on my Silverado now, the 5-inch tips I got on my truck. But this side, it was a single side exhaust, and I should have ran some duals on this truck, but I just never thought about doing it. I wish I had it now with a brand new motor in it, like a crate motor. I would probably go back and run some duals, even though it's a V6, but I'd probably put a Y pipe, kind of like what I got on my truck right now, my current truck. Of course, I was always doing the air filters. It was a stock system, and just put a high flow filter on the mass airflow. That's all it was, and you would get the same effect as a ram air. I had of course, Walmart Sony Explode 1100 watt 10, and I was pushing 300 watts to it. Single 10 with 300 watts. And then I buried the truck. Literally buried it on the frame in the woods. Trying to back up and got stuck. So I would back up a little bit more. I would go to spinning so I was like, maybe I'll back up some more. I was like, I'm halfway in these woods. And then it wasn't going nowhere. There's the there's the picture of it. Where I just buried. I had mud tires too. Of course, they're not going to work. That's some heavy, heavy mud right there. Put me some mossy oak seat covers on it because I had the steering wheel cover and floor mats. That kind of gave me an idea. I want to do something like this with my current truck, but real tree. Put real tree on it. Okay, had to take a break for a minute. Still had the S10. My high school that I used to go to where I went to high school, which is not too far from here. It's kind of in the area, Dale County High School. This was several years after I done graduated and everything, but our school was doing so good, and the football was going to state, and they were playing a team. If they win this game of this picture right here, they would go to state, and they would end up playing a team that Willie Robertson, the Duck Dynasty thing. Well, of course, there's my dog, Chevy. An old road that went exploring down an old road one time. Find out where it went. Hang on. Getting sidetracked. Let me just move all that out of the way so it don't distract me. Okay, where I live, the road that is there now, this was the old road that you could probably see on the on Google Maps, and the people that owned it at the time, the land over there, my mom worked in the school, and she knew the people or the lady over there, and they said like, hey, if y'all want to, y'all like to do that metal detecting. Now on my mother's channel, she likes, that's what she's into. She's into the Oak Island whole thing on History Channel and stuff, and these metal detecting like Gary Drayton. So I was like, I got the truck that's capable of doing stuff like that. And we drove up this old trail, this old road, which is now a trail, but it used to be a actual road that people would use on horse and buggy. And did some detecting up in there. Man, we found all kinds of stuff. There used to be a little housing where some people used to live up in there, like old brick. Like these were like little log cabins and stuff back then, and some of them were still there that we could see. And of course, there's the one good picture of when I ran my tailpipe out the side, and what my plan was is to have it cut off a little bit up under the body, and then I was going to run a custom tip that actually looks like a NASCAR truck tip, which is called a boom exhaust or something like that. It's like a real thin exhaust, and it's real wide. You know, it's a good 8 inches wide and everything. And of course, I was like, you know, I had some weird stuff going on in my head about these cars and trucks. Like, wonder what it would look like this, or what. I can't make my mind up, you know. But that's the picture of that. I mean, that's the story of the S10. That was the third vehicle I had in my life, was this one. Of course, at the same time as when I had the S10, I also had a race car. But that's for another story. That's definitely for another story right there.